Hi everybody, Renegade 67 and/or 68 here with some more Let's Play and/or stream Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works of the Blind variety. So last time, Archer, Shiro, they're the same person. They're acknowledging it. That's juicy. It means we're gonna get some juiciness. It's because you became a servant. I heard that guardians can be summoned in the age in which they lived. They're not bound to the time axis. You are Shiro. You should be a personification of his ideals. The person he became after much hard work. So why? She finishes in a broken voice. Why are you so different? I think him being different is just a surface level analysis. Saber, get on my level. Here we go. Not responding, he starts down the stairs. Ellipses. He cannot answer that question. He can't answer that question? Maybe he doesn't himself know why he's that different because he has so much memories lost, and it's more just a feeling of how bad things have been based on how the servant summoning system works. If you were able to, we would not be fighting here. Oh, so you yourself are admitting that you don't fully understand the differences between the two of you. Because if you understood, or are you saying you understand that he doesn't? I guess, yeah, he hates the idea that you were so naive and stupid and stuff, but I think deep down, you're closer than both of you are giving credit for, and you need to start liking each other and yourselves. You can start by liking another timeline version of yourself, then just like your actual self. Saber steps forward to confront Archer. It's fine, Saber. Just step back. I stop her with my hand and keep her at the entrance. Oh boy. Like old times. I'm the one keeping Saber from fighting. This time, though, she's going along with it. But Shiro. Desu, not Shiro? How is that but Shiro? I feel like I would think Desu is, so... But that's also Shiro. Desu no Shiro. Hold on, I gotta do a quick Japanese lookup. That makes me curious. I feel like she said Desuna, right? And then I'll just say a name. Desuna Shiro is let's do it. Desuna, it is. And then if I swap to katakana, Shiro. Desuna Shiro. I think to me, I don't know, unless I'm missing some nuance, I very easily could be. Japanese is hard, okay? I know, it's kind of complicated. I've learned some of it, but to my understanding, when you say desu, it's is. So how's there a but? If there, okay, maybe there's some no is a possessive. I'll take your word for it. But Shiro. No is a possessive, so it's like, what, is Shiro? Oh, he's like, but Shiro. Is it... Everyone asks, but Shiro, but they don't ask, is Shiro? Wait, does that work? I don't know. I appreciate it, but talking is useless. From the very beginning, his objective has been to kill me. I feel like from the very beginning, your objective, deep down, was to kill yourself. And that's all the more reason you should talk it out, I feel. Especially because you've accepted you're going to lose. Because you yourself accepted that you should be killing yourself, almost, is what it feels like. Which means you are on the same wavelength. But if you are on the same wavelength, all the more reason he shouldn't kill you. Because the reason he's touting is that he's killing you because you're so different. But if you're accepting him killing you, that means you're accepting that you're the same. Which is... blah. From the very beginning, his objective has been to kill me. Ellipses! Exclamation point. Saber bites her lip in frustration. Oh boy. How long is Archer gonna keep his 1 foot above those steps before stepping down onto the next step? I know, it's a still image, but it's funny to think of. Granted, being a heroic spirit, he could probably pull it off for a while. Saber stares at me, then at Archer.
なぜなのです、アーチャー。私にはわからない。守護者とは死後、英霊となって人間を守るものと聞いた。
Why, Archer?
その英霊がなぜ自分自身を殺そうなどと考えるのか。
I do not understand. I heard that guardians are ones who became heroic spirits after their deaths in order to protect people. So why are you trying to kill yourself? If you could answer that question, you might get at the heart of Shiro's problems, as it were. Well, he's got a few problems, but that seems to be the important one in this timeline. I mean, some of his other important problems were dealt with in Timeline 1, but that's still a sticking point for sure. Ones who became heroic spirits after this in order to protect people. That is what he did, and he got sick of protecting people. I mean, more or less, he hated, or rather, the thing he wanted to protect, the ideal he lost. He wanted to protect people, but he was constantly summoned when bad people were around. And he just had to kill people, but he hates himself too much to even think of himself as good enough to kill people and not feel bad about it. I suppose there's that as well. Guardian? Maybe something she said got through to him. Probably because he doesn't think of himself as a guardian. If anything, he thinks of all heroic spirits as a sort of assassin, in a way. They're summoned to kill bad people, more or less. Stop bad things, usually by bad people. He stops and looks down at Saber without emotion. Knowing Shiro, there'd be a bunch of emotion. He's just still got it bottled in. But you, as your own Shiro, not being able to accept your own emotions very much, can't accept Archer's emotions, because that means accepting your own emotions?
違うよ、セイバー。守護者は人間を守るものではない。あれはただの掃除屋だ。俺が望んでいた英雄などでは断じてない。
You're wrong, Saber. Guardians are not ones that protect the people. Despite the name, unfitting name in that case. They're only cleaners. They're definitely not the heroes I once wished to become. Cleaners? Is that a nice way of basically saying assassins? More or less, right? I mean, maybe not as stealthy as a normal assassin, but you know, you're brought to kill the bad guys, more or less. His voice sounds different. He's reminiscing in a way. Hatred and scorn fill it now. Which shows, again, that he didn't necessarily want to be a real hero, per se. Because if he did, he'd just be happy that he was stopping the bad guys and saving as many people as possible doing that. But because, as he said himself, make sure it's your real wish, and he's basically admitted that it's apparently not his real wish from his perspective, and he just hates all of it.
あーちゃん。
俺は確かに英雄になった。エミヤシロという男が望んでいたように正義の味方になったんだ。
I did become a hero. I became a superhero just as Emiya Shiro had wanted. I theorized way back when that maybe a dark wish that, you know, Kirei was coaxing Shiro towards was wishing that the Grail would give him a supervillain. But now it seems like if that ever was a wish for him at somewhere deep down, he's definitely seen that it never would have worked out for him. He doesn't want a supervillain because he likes helping people, and every time he has to kill a supervillain, he's going to feel bad about it on some level. Especially if there's no personal chemistry, like at least with Kirei, he got to know, like, oh yeah, you're super duper shitty, and so I don't have to feel too bad killing you, but... But defeating supervillains... If that's what superheroes are cut out to be, then I guess Shiro wants no part of it. A superhero. Someone who will not harm anyone. If that's your version of superhero, then that right there shows the problem. Because future Shiro has had to harm plenty of people. Someone who will not retreat no matter what disaster he may face. Someone who can save everyone. Someone Emiya Shiro wanted to become. The second one's kind of true. Someone who will not retreat no matter what disaster he may face. That he could potentially have still done. But who can save everyone? Depends on what you mean by everyone. But probably not is the answer. So, the second one's kind of right. The first and third, not so much. The first point, probably the most important point, broken immediately. Someone who will not harm anyone. Someone who can save everyone might be more important. Debatable. They're both proven incorrect, though. And that man became such a person?
あーちゃ
I guess in his mind, he found out that what a superhero really is not those things. It's the death of the ideal, as it were. Or at least, if such a superhero does exist, then servants that the Holy Grail summons are not such superheroes.
ああ、確かにいくらかの人間を救ってきたさ。
Yes, I certainly did save some people.
自分にできる範囲で多くの理想を叶えてきたし、世界の危機とやらを救ったこともあったよ。
have made many ideals come true, and I have saved the world from danger several times. Save the world from danger, which means a lot of people have been saved, so you should be happy, but because you don't have the hero's heart, you're not really happy. You've made many ideals come true, but you never really made your own... You made not your own ideal come true, so all you can feel is despair at the realization. Maybe that's what gives you the most despair, is that you realize you don't want to be a hero, despite how much, you know... That was the legacy that Kiritsugu gave you. You felt like you had to take it on. And also, you maybe did on some level want to take it on, and the realization you didn't really want to take it on, that you're kind of a besmircher as Kiritsugu's memory, if only you knew how much of a besmircher you were, when knowing how similar the surface level is between you and Kiritsugu. Oh, are we dropping? Yes, I think we are. We did for a second. Now we're good. Back to Saber's Desu. Maybe it was Desune. I'm sure I heard her say Desna, or, you know, Desna, but if it was Desne, I know what Desne would mean. I don't remember off the top of my head what Na can always mean. But even for Desne, that kind of sort of can maybe work for Butt, but it's iffy. Anyways, I have made many ideals come true, and I have saved the world from danger several times.
遠い昔から憧れていた地位にさえついにはたどり着いたこともある。
A hero. I did reach the place I dreamed of for so long. And you hated it? You hated what it really meant to be that version of a hero?
英雄にたどり着いた。なら、シロは報われたのですね。
You became a hero. Then Shiro was rewarded, right? Rewarded how? I mean, Shiro's not what you would call a selfish person, definitely. He never really sought a reward. He was just content not being rewarded. But, yeah, his reward was more and more suffering always.
少なくともここにいるあなたは、エミやシロの理想を叶えられたのでしょう。
At the very least, you made Emiya Shiro's ideal come true.
ならあなたには悔いなどないはずだ。シロはちゃんとその理想を叶えたのだから。
Then you should not have any regrets. Shiro was able to make his wish come true. It's not that simple, Saber. As much as you want to latch onto your idea of making your wish come true. There's no conviction in her voice. I mean, given how Archer's postured and how he's been acting, I mean, I can see why there'd be a lack of conviction. She already knows. She knows that she is only voicing her own wish. Oh! What do you mean by her own wish? As in, her dumb wish that I know is dumb? Or do you mean her wish that Shiro would grow up that way? Because, you know, she's grown to be fond of Shiro. I guess it could be a little of both. It probably means just her actual wish, but that would mean Shiro in this timeline has caught on to her real wish is, which, or at least to an extent, which so far we haven't seen a clear indication that he does know, at least, you know, this past version of Shiro. The future Shiro clearly knows, but, able to make his wish come true. Should not have any regrets. Even though Saber is potentially, you know, she worries about having regrets from doing this, like, will there be problems with erasing herself from the past, but she still thinks it's the right thing.
理想を叶えたか。確かに。
Make his wish
通りの正義の味方とやらになった。
come true, huh? I certainly did become a superhero, just like in my ideal.
だが、その果てに得たものは後悔だけだった。
But all I obtained in the end were
残っ
regrets.
たものは
All that was left was
死
death.
だ
Shine.
からな。
Oh, I thought he was finished talking when he said, like, she. I heard the she, and I'm like, that's death. And then he kept talking, but all that was left was death.
殺して殺して殺し尽くした。
I killed and killed and killed. Technically speaking, Saber doesn't want to erase herself just to undo becoming a king. I mean, that's debatable based on how Timeline 1 went. Like, she wants to undo becoming a king, but, like, not to give herself a better life or anything like that. I mean, yeah, it is kind of dumb that she wants to undo herself becoming a king, and that's dumb, but it's more than that. It's not even that she wants to undo it so that, she can have a better life that isn't involved in kings. It's focused on, well, I clearly fucked everything up despite how good I did, and despite the fact that, you know, someone had to, you know, trick me or something to, you know, like, someone had to turn the people against me for the people to be turned against me, and yet she regretted the people being turned against her, and so she's like, oh, I'm not worthy, I'll undo everything. And it seemed in a sense like she was killing herself, in a sense. Even if she did put herself back to just being a young girl, I feel like she would have had suicidal tendencies if she didn't just completely erase herself from existence, which is possible if that's what her wish was. It was a little, it wasn't, you know, fully elaborated to what extent that was, but she seemed to imply that, you know, she just wanted to erase herself from existence, more or less. I killed and killed and killed. I killed many people to act on my ideal. I killed so many. You had to accept the bad people as below you, which you couldn't because you hated yourself so much. So once you started doing that, you just started hating everything, including the innocents. I killed so many people that I stopped caring about innocent people, and I saved 1,000 times as many as I killed, but it didn't matter because you can't, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. That is not Emi Ashiro. Is my original theory from well, not original theory. There's been multiple, but you know, way back when, I'm like, I don't think Shiro really wants to be a hero. Is that the goal, to have Shiro's happier ending be that he accepts that he gets his own wish and doesn't want to be a hero, or does he find a better way? Because it seems to me like we've seen the end of what him becoming a proper hero is like, at least becoming a hero through the Grail. Dash dash. Saber stares at Archer, speechless. Because it reminds, maybe to an extent it reminds her of herself. Because she pulled up the sword to save, you know, she also, there's parallels. She wanted to save as many people as possible. Whereas he did the same thing with the Grail, kind of wanting to save as many people as possible. And now, yeah, she wants to go back and erase herself from ever being the king. And I think Archie's wish is a little more petty here. He's just being like, oh gosh, I'm going to kill past Shiro just to make me feel better. Because I have so much self-hatred. And I don't, maybe he hasn't comprehended fully that, but especially for the past version of me that wanted this. He just has to get it out of his system. Saber stares at Archer, speechless. She looks like someone who saw her own mirror image. Yeah, exactly. Because as I was saying about what her wish was, and, you know, more or less the same thing. I mean, there's differences, but more or less the same.
So.
That's a difference between her. That's a clear difference between him and Saber, though. Saber is going on a clear chronological path. She hasn't had any memory wumbo jumbo. She's time jumped a bunch. She's skipped many, many years, but she still remembers everything, I believe. I don't know how many times I've repeated this cycle. I fought as often as requested, and I fought with my life in danger whenever I knew there was a conflict. I fought many times, so many times that I can't even remember now. Well, Saber is still alive. Sure, but she hasn't succeeded in her wish yet, and theoretically she never will, because of the way the Grail works. Like, to get something good, you have to give up something, and I suppose she still might go for that in the one bad ending, where she kills Shiro. But Archer trying to sneeze. Oh, you can kind of see that when your eyes close, yeah. Oh. She gave up on that wish in Timeline 1. She hasn't come to that wish necessarily in Timeline 2. And so, maybe even when she heard about the sacrifices required, if she heard, maybe she wouldn't have heard. Maybe Kira wouldn't have told her. And just said, yes, you can do it. Don't worry about consequences. Then again, at the time, she felt super distraught after she did it, but at that point she just accepted it, I think. Like, well, might as well do my wish now. So yeah, that is definitely the bad timeline, which, yeah, has to just not exist because, ooh, so many times that I can't even remember now. I fought many times. Ever I knew there was a conflict, I fought with my life. I'm speaking backwards. Look at me like a Japanese person. It can't be helped, right? I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. You're a superhero, therefore you have the responsibility to be a superhero. But as I talked about with Glenn, he might be more inclined to be a supervillain, given the right prodding. In this version of Archer, I wouldn't quite call supervillain, but, you know, he's on the edge. It can't be helped, right?
何を救おうと、救われない人間というものは出てきてしまう。何度戦いを終わらせようと、新しい戦いは生み出される。
No matter who I save, there are always people who will perish. No matter how many conflicts I resolve, new conflicts are always created. Yeah, that boyish ideal to save everyone. Because that's what I was saying earlier about how Shiro was spinning his wheels, not really making any progress towards ways he could actually help people out. Like, constantly doing this magic training, not knowing if it would lead anywhere. Just that, oh, somehow I can use these magic powers to help people. Instead of, I don't know, looking into being a doctor, a firefighter, something like that, you know, in the real world that helps people. Or just going and trying to find conflicts, you know, trying to be an actual non-superior without magic. Trying to be like a Great Saiyaman type character. But no, he never really bothered. He was just spinning his wheels because in my mind, deep down, he was afraid of finding out that it was just an ideal and it crumbling. And I feel like that came true. He found out and it crumbled. Only this time he had already accepted himself as being a servant, so there was no going back. Or who I save, there are always people who will perish. Or how many conflicts I resolve, new conflicts are always created.
そんなものがある限り、正義の味方っていうのはあり続けるしかないんだから。
A superhero has to keep existing as long as conflicts exist. Who did he direct that to? Both of us? Himself? All three of us. I mean, himself is you to an extent, Shiro, but superhero has to keep existing as long as conflict exists. That's a line I've seen, you know, not that exact line, but that kind of mentality. I've seen it in some other superhero stories, like what do you do when there's no more fights to fight? If the thing you enjoy is saving good guys from bad guys, what happens whenever the world's at peace and there's no more bad guys? There's definitely different stories that have gone over that idea. Shiro's more deeper than that simplistic story, but I've certainly seen stories that go over that, and sometimes the dark answer is, well, it would be terrible. Thankfully, realistically, that'll never happen. There'll always be bad people, which is a dark answer to that question, but who did he direct that to? My mind actually goes to Case Closed somewhat. There's quite a bit of Case Closed I have not seen. I'm only roughly, I was roughly halfway into the anime last time I checked. I think I might have hit 1,000 episodes by now, which means I'm not quite halfway, if that's true. But I think of the main character of that and how he loves solving crimes. And like, you know, what if there's no crimes? His favorite thing is to solve crimes, and he does like helping good people and stopping bad people. But, you know, if there's no crimes, you know, what would he do? We see him sometimes dealing with more mundane puzzles that don't relate to criminals, and he just seems so much more bored with it. It's interesting thinking about that kind of thing. But of course, Archer's different than that because he doesn't get off on, you know, doing the normal superhero routine. He would want it to end, because that would mean his existence would finally end. Who did he direct that to? The knight slowly descends the stairs and recounts his past. That's why I killed. You killed as many bad people as possible. You accepted it because you're just like, let it end. If I kill this bad person, will it finally end?
一人を救うために何十という人間の願いを踏みにじってきた。踏みにじった相手を救うために より多くの人間をないがしろにした。
I trampled on dozens of wishes to save one person. A person you care about? Or what do you mean? Someone you care about or just yourself? Are you saying you want to try to save yourself by... I mean, that's one way. You could try to kill as many people as possible, go straight supervillain so that you stop getting summoned. if you wipe out the population of the planet, you won't get summoned anymore. When humanity ends, then again, you constantly are summoned at different points in time and not even in the right order, and you won't even remember, so that would make it even more hard on you. But that would be full supervillain. That might be the route he inevitably went if he, something couldn't be done to pull him out of the, timeline succession or something, unless he can somehow properly develop and keep that development through his echo, which is debatable given, the amnesia. I trampled on dozens of wishes to save one person. I ignored even more people to save those I trampled over. Oh. Okay. So you tried to save those you trampled over. You trampled to save one person, but then you ignored more people because you're like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have trampled. It's constant regret. That shows the constant regret cycle. If he tries to wipe out humanity, a guardian will be summoned to kill him too. Who will probably be Archer again just to fuck with him? Oh man. Another version of Archer killing him from the past being like, I'm a superhero Archer. I'm the bad guy Archer. I'm even more futuristic version of you. Oh boy. At least then maybe he can finally, maybe his life could finally end. Maybe at that point that's his goal. I ignored even more people to save those I trampled over. I've seen that plotline for sure. The villain who becomes immortal and then just wants to die, so they do as much fucked up stuff as possible, hoping some superhero will show up and just kill them. I have seen that a couple times. Like, they give up on looking for a way to kill themselves. Like, they think they try everything. So they're like, maybe if I mess with enough people's lives that they want to get back at me, they'll find some way to kill me that I never thought of. Nobody's better at killing Shiro Emiya than Shiro Emiya. Let's see it happen then, because we've seen a few different people kill Shiro in the different pathways with different bad ends. I ignored even more people to save those I trampled over.
何十という人間の救いを殺して、目に見えるものだけの救いを生かして、
I killed scores of people, rescued only those in front of me, and destroyed many more wishes. You realize you couldn't save everyone, so you're just, I'll save anyone I can see. Everyone else, though, you can't save everyone. And that's when you just started to accept that mentality? I kept being stubborn. Ooh. Good acting. You can definitely tell the actor's feeling torn up as he speaks. I kept being stubborn, saying that it'll end this time, that everyone would become happy this time. For Archer's voice actor, who's normally sounded so cold and mechanical throughout, for him to finally be, for us to finally be hearing the emotion there, I think it's really well done. But it never ended. Shiro's actor is more. I think Shiro's actor is also very good at portraying Shiro, the younger Shiro, as it were. But he tends to get emotional a bit more often. Although when he does get emotional, he's very good at that too. It never ended. Conflicts come into my view as long as I'm alive. It was endless. I didn't dream of a world without conflicts. You need conflicts to be a superhero. So I guess that's the realization. You don't want to be a superhero? You want a world with no conflicts. A world where you don't have to waste time saving people. You wanted something to latch on to, saving people, because it gave your life meaning, because otherwise you think, I should have just died in the fire. By taking on the wish of being a superhero and saving people, maybe I can replace my own worthless life. But you didn't really want to save people, which ultimately led to that problem. A world without conflict means a world with no one to save, and if a world with no one to save means that your life becomes meaningless, so you had to latch on to the idea that you wanted to save people, though you really didn't. Paradoxically. I didn't dream of a world without conflicts. I just wanted people in my view not to cry. That is. Definitely my own wish.
My
vision expands after I save one.
1人の次は10人、10人の次は100人、100人の次はさて何人だったか。
10 after 1. 100 after 10.
エミヤシロという男が抱いていたものは都合のいい理想論だったのだと。
How many was it after 100? At that time, I finally realized that Emiyashiro's ideal was just a convenient fantasy. A fantasy for yourself, because you're saying you saved one person, and you didn't feel good about it, so you saved 10 people, you still didn't feel good about it because they're strangers to you. You enjoy, I think he likes helping out people that he cares about, but strangers, I just don't think it does anything for him. As much as he wants it to do something for him, I just don't think it does. Not the way it does for someone like Kiritsugu, let's say, who saved Shiro, who he knew nothing about. He enjoyed it so much because I think Kiritsugu genuinely wanted to save and help people like a hero. But Shiro's never really, truly wanted that, I don't think, beyond maybe helping his close acquaintances. I think helping strangers, you know, he saves one person, it doesn't really satisfy him. He saves 10, it still doesn't do anything for him. He goes to 100, still not enough. Keeps going and realizes that no matter how many people it saves, it's never good enough. Which goes into what I was theorizing about a long time ago about how he's spinning his wheels because he doesn't want to risk trying something to find out that he doesn't want to save someone because that, you know, he's using that as a crutch, as an excuse to why he gets to keep living and also to carry on Kiritsugu's dream. You know, they kind of go together, but that's why he was spinning his wheels, because he didn't want to risk finding out that truth, that the more people he saves. I talked about this after the school incident where Shinji almost, you know, fucked everybody up at the school. And he succeeded, even though Shinji was doing some bad stuff with the blood fort. He was messing with people. They might have died. Shiro successfully got Shinji to stop them from doing that. And he just didn't give a shit afterward at all. He didn't stop to think, wow, I just saved everyone in the school. Didn't even cross his mind. Or if it did, he wanted to bury the fact that he didn't care. And the fact that he didn't care is the problem. He wanted to fill the void in himself, but it just wasn't working. And once he became a heroic spirit, he was forced to face the fact, unlike with Shinji, where he could just ignore it and focus on something else. Yeah, he's a heroic spirit. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what he keeps doing, and it just never feels good. So it's more than just killing all the villains. It really is. He was getting to save people, and it still didn't matter. Why is that?
分かりきったことを聞くな、セイバー。君ならば何度も経験したことだろう。すべての人間を救うことはできない。
Don't ask for the obvious, Saber. You should have experienced the same thing many times already. You cannot save everyone. I mean, everyone dies of old age eventually, right? But
国を救うためにほんの少しの人間を見殺しにする。
Ooh, blunt.
なんていうのは日常茶飯事だっただろう。
I assume it was a daily routine for you to sacrifice a few people to save the country. Yes, which exactly people like Shiro and Saber would hate to go for, because they're both so wanting to protect as many people as possible, both of them. So after having to sacrifice as many people as possible, it would give them, you know, greater death wishes, as it were. Though I think Shiro's had a stronger death wish ever since the fire, whereas Saber maybe just developed hers over time. Ellipses. The quiet voice is rendered powerless to object. The words of the Red Knight are Saber's darkness as well.
そう。席は限られている。幸福という椅子は常に全体の数より少なめでしか用意されない。
The seats are limited. There are always fewer seats called happiness than there are people to fill them. Yeah, but the worst case scenario then is going too far and not bothering to, you know, help the happy people, that some of the seats go unfilled. You still want to try to fill as many of these seats as possible, to use your analogy. Even if the seats are limited, there's still quite a few of them. And, you know, if you aren't paying attention, many of them will end up unfilled. And, you know, then that's you just living out, basically being the villain at that point.
その場にいる全員を救うことなどできないから、結局誰かが犠牲になる。
Since you cannot save everyone, someone will have to be sacrificed. Oh, way back when, I remember Wiseful was like, Shiro's my favorite character. This was in Timeline 1, when Shiro was constantly stupid. And I was like, what? I just don't get it. I found him, you know, kind of unlikable at that point. But now, he is such a fascinating character study. I can definitely see it. I don't know, who's my favorite at this point? Shiro's up there. Is he my favorite? I feel like if we got more Ilya or Ayako, I could make an argument in that direction, but so much of the novel just is the Shiro show. I like Saber, but I'd say I like Shiro more than Saber. I like Rin, but I'd say I like Shiro more than Rin. I'm a big fan of Ilya, but we don't get enough of her, so maybe Shiro is my favorite in the novel at this point. I like Gilgamesh a lot, he's fun. Shiro's a strong main character, though, now that I'm this far in, for sure. Since you cannot save everyone, someone will have to be sacrificed. I'm sort of counting Archer as part of Shiro at this point. When I say Shiro's my favorite, I'm counting him. If I didn't count Archer, I mean, I'd still like Shiro, but I don't think I'd like him this much. And...
被害を最小限に抑えるために、いずれこぼれる人間を速やかに、1秒でも早くこの手で切り落とした。
I quickly killed the ones that would eventually fall out to minimize the damage. I quickly killed the ones that would eventually fall out of the seats, you mean? To minimize the damage from the people that were happy. You killed the ones that were already happy. That might... Oh. Wait. Okay, maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but you're saying I killed the ones that would eventually fall out. Are you saying, like, if someone was happy and they had a friend who you weren't going to save, or they had a friend who was a bad guy, then you're like, oh, you're not going to be happy once I do this to your friend. You, like, would kill them too? Take them out of their happy seat? Because that's a little overboard. I know that they're going to be sad, but they could potentially get over it. Killing them just so, you know, to ease your own conscience of their state of mind? When you're not even going to bother with your own state of mind? Is that what it's about? The state of mind? Because if you're killing someone so that they don't have a negative state of mind, then yeah, that's when you've, I think, crossed a certain line. If I'm reading into that at all correctly.
それが英雄とその男が理想と信じる正義の味方の取るべき行動だ。
This is what it means to be that boy's vision of the ideal superhero. The wish for nobody to become sad. The desire to save as many people as possible. Save as many people as possible. But if that's not everyone, then how many people have to be sacrificed are the dark questions you have to start asking, yeah. When the two coexist and contradict each other, there is only one solution. You have to choose who becomes sad, so as many people as possible become happy. Okay, if this person becomes sad, you know, that person doesn't have many friends, so that person should be sad while these people become happy. Oh, but if this person becomes sad, they have way too many friends. They need to stay happy so the rest of their friends can stay happy. Oh, but no, wait, there's not enough money to come around, so I think they should all become sad, which means I can open up some possibilities for some of these people to become happy because some seats have opened. There's only one solution. The only people a superhero can save are the people he sides with. There it is. If one is to lose everything by trying to save everything, then you just don't save everything. It is correct to sacrifice one to save more. That's the ultimate Kiritsugu logic that he worked off for a while. The sad logic that he never would have wanted Shiro to have. So sad. He wanted the Grail to fix all that for him, but you know, ooh, what you say? And that's why he was so, you know, that's why he came off so, you know, so happy when he just did save the one, because his whole life he was sacrificing one to save many, and the Grail practically sacrificed many, and he only saved one as a result, but he just focused on the fact that someone was saved and ignored the equations he had constantly been living his life by. Oh yeah, sacrifice 1 to save 10, sacrifice 10 to save 20. I sacrificed 1 billion people in this fire, but I saved one person. Just focus on the saving, as I think what made him somewhat happier in the end. But because Kiritsugu genuinely wanted to save people, I think it's different than Shiro's situation. It's correct to sacrifice one to save more.
多くの人間を救うというのが正義の味方だろ。だから殺した。誰も死なさないようにと願ったまま、大勢のために一人には死んでもらった。
A superhero should save many people, right? Many people, right? That's why I killed. I prayed for no one to die, but I killed one to save many. Ooh.
誰も悲しまないようにと口にして、その陰で何人かの人間には絶望を抱かせた。
I said I would not have anyone sad, but I brought despair, Zetsubo, to a few in the dark.
そのうち、それにも慣れてきてね。理想を守るために理想に反し続けた。
And in time, I got used to it. To protect my ideal, I kept going against it. That ideal. Is that the real ideal that you switched to trying to protect? Is, well, I want to be a hero. If this what it means to be a hero, then I guess this is what I have to do. But that's you latching on still to the idea of being a hero rather than, I guess at that point you're too far gone. You're already a heroic spirit, so you have to want to be a hero, which is the most toxic potential if you don't really want to be a hero. But to protect the ideal so you could protect your own self-idea so you wouldn't explode on yourself, in that case it's a little selfish. I kept going against it. I guess it's very selfish depending on, you know, if he really is going to this point for that ideal theoretically.
自分が助けようとした人間しか救わず、敵対した者は速やかに皆殺しにした。犠牲になる誰かを容認することで、かつての理想を守り続けた。
I only saved the people I tried to save, and quickly killed the people who opposed me. I allowed someone to be sacrificed to keep protecting my ideal. Someone? Do you mean the old version of yourself?
それがこの俺。英雄エミヤの正体だ。
Or you just meant people in general. That is the true identity of the hero, Emiya.
そうだ。
See?
そんな男は今のうちに死んだ方が世のためと思わないか?
Don't you think such a guy should die? There it is. Doing it just to feel better though, because, you know, I don't think doing this will erase yourself from, you know, the timeline as it were. That's right. The only ones a superhero can save are people he sides with. But who was it that defied those words? It was you, Shiro. You defied them when Kiritsugu said that. At least, you defied them for a time.
それは嘘です。たとえそうなったとしても、あなたならばその誰かを自分にして理想を追い続けたのではないですか?
I wasn't reading into that wrong. They did mean himself by the someone. Alright. That's a lie. Even if that happened, you would have protected your ideal by choosing yourself to be that someone. I think that in itself is lying to yourself, Saber, because you're trying to sacrifice yourself, as it were. The way you're saving people, I think, is all wrong, because you did a very good job. And if Archer had the same goal, theoretically, then maybe you could lament the same problems against him. But I think his goal is a bit more petty, because I don't think killing this Shiro will do anything to this Archer. Maybe he's hoping it will, but it really won't. Maybe deep down he's like, maybe if I kill my past self, I will erase myself from existence. As opposed to Saber, who has an intent goal based upon it. You have protected your ideal by choosing yourself to be that someone. Dashes. Is that really protecting the ideal after everything else he sacrificed? I don't believe it is. The knight stops for a second. A frown crosses his face.
あなたは理想に反したのではない。守ったはずの理想に裏切られ、道を見失っただけではないのですか?
You did not go against your ideal. You only lost your path because you were betrayed by the ideal you protected. Betrayed by the ideal you protected. Are you trying to relate that to yourself? That your ideal betrayed you? If an ideal betrays you, then get rid of it and stop focusing on it. You're saying it's... I mean, I feel like she's conflicting herself at this point, contradicting herself. She's saying you succeeded. Like, you're saying you would have protected your ideal by choosing yourself to be the someone to sacrifice. As if that's a good thing. But now you're saying you did not go against your ideal. You lost your path because you were betrayed by that ideal. So, are you saying it's still good to protect the ideal even once it's betrayed you? Are you that honorable, Saber? I'm of the opinion that if the ideal betrays you that hard, then fuck the ideal. But...
そうでなければ、こんな自分を殺すことで罪を償おうなどとは思わない。
You would not think of killing yourself to atone for the sins unless that were the case. It's a way of protecting the ideal, I suppose. If he kills his past self, and that can somehow erase some level of Archer from existence, or make it so that Shiro can never become Archer, then Shiro will never realize that his superhero goals are bullshit, so he'll never realize that, so the ideal will stay alive to him. If that's his true goal, is to let the ideal live. But, like, where is this version of Shiro going, then, theoretically? I mean, it's going nowhere, because you're gonna kill him, I suppose. But, I guess that's the point, though. You don't think about where it's going because you have so much self-hatred. You're just going to kill the past version of yourself and be done with it. And I think something similar is going on with Saber, where she wanted to erase herself from the past. But I think it's more than just stop herself from being king. I think even if she was still around, she probably, I could have seen herself just committing Sudoku, as it were. Dashes. His ironic smile disappears. Ooh. Because that actually gets to him in his feels to some extent. After coldly staring at Saber. Is he laughing because the reason he's killing Shiro is just to make himself feel better, not for the ideal? Because I would assume so, since I don't think this is going to affect the Grail in any way. This isn't going to affect Archer, being Archer, as it were. He's already in the timey-wimey sphere of timiness. He starts laughing like a madman. Oh, look at that! Shiro laughed! Shiro normally doesn't laugh. I guess that shows some character growth. Regular Shiro also laughed a little bit too recently. Just barely. But this version Shiro, I guess, shows... laughter shows an acceptance of his own version of himself. Or maybe he's laughing, like a madman, as it says. At the opposite, as it were. If anything, he's laughing at the fact that he does not laugh. As if it's the funniest thing he's heard. Do not go against your ideal. You only lost your path because you were betrayed by the ideal you protected. Think of killing yourself to atone for the sins unless that were the case. I wonder if he's laughing about that because he's not really doing it to atone. Maybe he is doing it only to make himself feel better. Wow, that's great. Okay, I was right. Atone for my sins? Don't be stupid, Saber. Ooh, he's actually given in to being selfish here. Or at least he's presenting himself that way. If anything, maybe he's doubling down on this idea that he's selfish to distance himself more from this version of Shiro because of Gilgamesh, calling him out as a faker. I have no sins to atone for, nor have I forced such a meaningless concept on anyone. The knight looks completely calm. I thought he looked a little laughing mad. He spoke in a small voice, but his laughter echoes through the hall.
ああ、そうだったよ、セイバー。確かに俺は何度も裏切られ、欺かれた。救ったはずの男に罪をかぶせられたこともある。死ぬ思いで争いを収めてみれば、 争いの張本人だと押し付けられて、
Yes.
最後には公主代だ。
You're right, Saber. I was certainly betrayed and deceived many times. I've been accused by the exact person I saved. Which one? After giving my all to stop a conflict, I was accused of it being its cause and was executed in the end. You mean your actual life? You were executed? And that's how you died? I thought you used a wish to save as many people as possible. On the Grail. Or was it like you were executed and used your wish to make it so you didn't die upon your execution and save as many people as possible? How does that work exactly? That's an interesting narrative idea if that is the case. Where, let's say something from the Grail happens, where Shinji does something stupid and causes a big accident, and then people blame Shiro for it or something, and he gets executed. That's an interesting idea, but it goes against the idea that he wished on the Grail. Or I guess as he was dying, he could have... it doesn't mean have the execution succeed, I suppose. I suppose as he was dying, he could have wished for the power to save people, despite them going to kill him. Not caring about his own self, you know. That's self-hatred. They could be separate incidents, but it seems weird. Because, you know, you're executed. You can only die once, in theory. Like, you're executed, but then you're also... You wish the fire towards the end, and they said he died smiling at the end. So, you can't die twice, so... if either they overlap, or there's even more timey-wimey shit that's going on.
そうだ。俺に罪があるというのなら、その時点で償っているだろう。
See, if I had any sins to atone for, I've already done so, right?
嘘だ、アーチャー。あなたの最後は。
Impossible, Archer! You cannot mean your end is... I guess that's somewhat similar to Saber in that case. Saber was betrayed by her people, although her people betrayed her because they were tricked. It's different, doesn't count. Also, that's what made Saber's wish of wanting to erase her past self happen. Whereas with Shiro, if this is true, I mean, maybe they were also tricked. I don't know enough about the context. But this was still when he had his wish to save as many people as possible and hadn't died yet, as it were. So that was it. What was it? She didn't know? Cannot mean your end is...
だが、そんなことはどうでもよかった。初めから干渉してほしかったわけじゃない。英雄などともてはやされる気もなかった。俺はただ、誰もが幸福だという結果だけが欲しかった。
But I didn't care about that. From the start, I didn't do these things to be appreciated. I had no intention of being praised as a hero. I just wanted a result where everybody would be happy. Everyone but yourself, because you think of yourself as already being dead, as it were. You died in the fire, so being executed matters not to you, especially if you can save people. That was your crutch, right? You have to let yourself live to save people so you don't feel bad about being saved instead of other people in the fire. So if you've already saved people, it doesn't matter if you're executed. You might even just accept it happily. But such a wish never came true. Not within my lifetime, nor after my death. He stopped laughing. Laughed about atoning for his sins because he was already forced to atone through execution. There's only hatred in his voice now.
守護者とは霊長の存命のみを優先する無色の力だ。
Guardians are a colorless force that places humanity's survival before anything.
力は高きところにありて、人の世が滅亡する可能性が生じれば世に下る。
The powers are in the heavens, and the guardians appear in this world only when there's a chance of human extinction. Humanity's survival before anything, including animal kind survival? Seems kind of weird that, you know, humans get guardians. Do animals get their own version of heroic experience? How does that work? Why are humans special? I think I've talked about this before, but what about aliens? Are there aliens? If we go to space, do we have space servants? Or is this like a prediction that we never get servants in space? Or if we do get space servants, are they specific to space? Or the space servants, can they be summoned here? Only appeared in this world? Oh, how literal is that? Only when there's a chance of human extinction.
それがただの奴隷であることは知っていた。
I knew they were just slaves. Is that what you thought of them beforehand, but you didn't mind because you didn't mind being yourself a slave?
死後、己が存在を守護者に預けた者は、輪廻の枠から外れ、無と同意になるのだと。
I know that people who become guardians are removed from the cycle of reincarnation become like nothingness. Cycle of reincarnation is an interesting idea. The belief that reincarnation is real. Begs the question is, any reincarnation mumbo jumbo going on like that one person from the flashback at the end of Timeline 1 who was helping Saber at a big deal and seemed to like her? Did that person eventually get reincarnated as Shiro? I don't know. Random theories. Become like nothingness.
それでも、誰かを救えるのならそれでいい。
But I did not care as long as I could save people.
かつてのエミヤシロは、その誓いを守れなかった。
Emiya Shiro could not fulfill his oath. You are not the bone of your sword? Oh no!
なら、守護者となって人間の滅亡とやらを食い止める一端になるのなら、
So,
それでいいと思ったんだ。
thought it would be fine if I could become a guardian to take part in stopping humanity's destruction.
だが、実際は違う。守護者は人など救わない。
But it's actually different. Guardians do not save people. You admit it yourself. You saved people as a guardian, though. So a little contradictory there. As long as I could save people, let me sure could not fulfill his oath. Does that lead into I thought it would be fine, or Shiro could not fulfill his oath before, or is this he couldn't fill? Anyways, guardians do not save people.
守護者がすることはただの掃除だ。すでに起きてしまったこと、作られてしまった人間の業をその力で無にするだけの存在だった。
All they do is clean up after humans. They take what has been done and nullify it with their powers.
それは人を救うのではなく、世界に害を与えるであろう人々を善悪の区別なくなくすだけ。
They do not save people. All they do is eliminate harmful people without distinction of good or evil. Harmful good people? Why? What is the good person trying to do that's so harmful? Without distinction of good or evil? I mean, I guess there are some extremists that could do good things that could lead to retaliation for bad people that would be even worse, or something, or good intentions leading to bad results. So you kill the good intention people that have bad results. Please don't get into any fate rabbit holes here. I'm gonna focus on this fate.
絶望に嘆く人々を救うのではなく、絶望と無関係に生を謳歌する部外者を救うために、絶望する人々を排除するだけの殺戮者。
Oh yeah, I can see how you dislike that. You yourself are in a constant form of despair, as it were. They do not save people in despair. Instead, they eliminate people in despair in order to save others who are enjoying life. The rich get richer? Yucky.
馬鹿げた話だ。それが今までの俺と何が違う?
It's so ridiculous. How am I different from before? There's no difference. Oh. The two Shiros accepting that they're the same? If you're accepting it the same, then accepting the killing yourself is just accepting that that is your true wish, if anything. Which is a bad wish. There was just more despair. He's just seen more despair. They do not save people in despair. He relied on a greater power since his powers alone were not enough. But it ended up being the same. He thought the power would make his wish come true, but it only made him do the same things on a greater scale.
アーチャー、あなたは ずっとそんなことを。
Archer, you've repeated such a thing forever?
それも慣れたよ。人間は繰り返す。どんな時代でも強者が弱者を奪い尽くすのだ。そしてそれが最も効率のいい繁栄だと思い知らされた。
I got used to it. Humans repeat things. The strong feed on the weak, regardless of what age we're talking about. And I came to realize that it's the most efficient way to prosper. Yikes.
ああ、何度も見てきた。
Yeah, I watched it over and over.
意味のない殺戮も、意味のない平等も、意味のない幸福も。
Oh boy. I mean, the first one, meaningless massacres. Massacres are good to be meaningless. Well, I mean, they're not, but you know what I mean. Any amount of meaning you put into massacre is probably just bullshit on some level. But the other two, meaningless equality, meaningless happiness. Happiness is meaningless because the happiness is only going to bad people.
俺自身が拒んでも見せられた。守護者となった俺にはもはや自分の意志などない。ただ人間の意志によって呼び出され、人間が作ってしまった罪の後始末をさせら
I
れ
was
るだけ
forced
だ
to
っ
look
た
at
から
them.
な。
Even when I refused to. As a guardian, I have no free will. I am called by the people only to take care of the crimes people have created. Yeah, it sounds like a kind of thing where, you know, there's rich people living the good life. Then there's some amount of, you know, poor people living the not so good life. They're like, we want to be richer, so they do something bad. It causes a big incident. Then the servant is summoned. Stop this bad person because of the circumstance of their life to save the people that were living the good life, as it were. Yeah. I mean, bad people, you know, that's not always universally why bad people do bad things, but a lot of bad people will do bad things because of their unfortunate life circumstances, and just stopping them and letting the good people who had good circumstances continue living a good life doesn't, you know, solve any greater problem. That's where he ended up. A being that repairs the damage caused by human desire. Guardians do not save people, rather they eliminate those who cannot be saved as if they never existed. Oof. Yeah, that puts it in even blunter. Over and over. Yeah, I can see how that would definitely suck. For many times he saw people nearly destroy themselves through their own actions, and he burned them down like trash each time. There's probably two sides to the story. There's probably a glass half full perspective, but Shiro would always take the glass half empty and, you know, extrapolate on that, I'm sure. Humans invented normalcy. Give me literally anything we want, I guess. Or need. Save as many people as possible. The man became a hero with that one wish, but in the end he could not make it come true even once. I mean, you apparently did save people, but I think it's that glass half empty mentality coming back. That's right. This is wrong. This is not what I wished for. I did not become a guardian for this. There was a line break. Why was there a line break? There was no period. His anger is probably directed at himself. I mean, is there much of a difference? What is standing there is a worn-out corpse. I mean, Shiro, you're debatably on death's door, but you're not a corpse yet. Or if you are a corpse, there's still a chance to cast Revivify. I mean, Revivify is, you know, there's still a chance to cast some kind of resurrection on you before, you know, You fully go into servant mode. The hero Emiya is doomed to always see the ugliness of those he wanted to save. He grew to hate them in the end. Even hate the people that he would have potentially wanted to save. Because everyone needs to be sacrificed anyway. He grew to hate humans for repeating conflicts. He grew to hate himself for thinking that humans are sacred. I mean, hating himself, I think, is something he already had covered to an extent, but I can definitely see that hatred increasing for sure. If anything, if there's anything he hates the most, though, it's probably the fact that he still does it. He still helps out every time. He can't let himself go full supervillain. And he probably hates himself the most for that. Because he probably would love to just Ushin turning to the dark side, but some part of him is still like, no, good guy. I don't want to clean up after people, but as long as I'm a guardian, there's no way for me to escape this cycle. Save one exception. If you mean kill your past self so he never becomes you, I've talked about earlier how that really shouldn't work. Because if you're killing the exact same past version of yourself, then you in the past should have lived out a version where a future Archer came back and tried to kill you already, if that's the exact version of Shiro that goes out to be Archer. So this theoretically shouldn't be that version, because if it was, he would have never lived the conflict, which you would already understand going into it if you remembered facing your future self. Therefore, I feel like this is destined to be a failed attempt to erase yourself, or if it in any way can be a successful attempt. That could just be a thing, is that he's being, you know, petty and trying something desperate even though he doesn't know if it'll work. But it really shouldn't work based on, you know, how time works, you know, just as a general concept. But save one exception. Murderous intent flares in his cold eyes. Yeah, I think he's just being petty and doing this to make himself feel better, and he's lying to himself that it'll solve anything. Or hoping it'll solve something deep down. He isn't looking at Saber. There's only one objective for Archer, to kill his own self. But yeah, because it's not like one continuous timeline, and because the servants are removed from the time thing, there only needs to be one timeline where Shiro grows up and becomes Archer. This Archer always comes from that timeline. So if this Shiro is a different Shiro, then killing this version of Shiro shouldn't matter. And if it's the same Shiro, then he should remember being in this exact same circumstance, facing an older version of Archer. Which, you know, says a lot about how he would end up in that position exactly again anyways. But also, if he did end up in that position, it means he lives through this, so, you know. Even if he dies, the real body of Emiya, who is in the place outside of the cycle and not bound by time, will not disappear. Oh, okay, we're accepting that? Maybe he thinks he's operating under Back to the Future mechanics. Where there's one timeline, but it can be changed arbitrarily. He can hope. Maybe he's being desperate. There is only one objective for Archer, to kill his own self. But even if he dies, the real body of Emiya, who is in the place outside of the cycle and not bound by time, will not disappear. There is no elimination for Guardians. So he's just being petty, and you're understanding that? You're both understanding that? They are nothing to start with. It is meaningless to kill something that is not part of the real world. But there is one way for him to disappear. Oh? If someone who is to become a hero is killed before he becomes a hero, that hero will never come into existence. What? No, what you just said goes against that. Kill his own self, even if he dies. Oh, you mean... Oh, okay. You're saying if he kills his future self, he'll just be... That won't count because he's from a different... Okay. I see what you're saying, and I disagree with your logic, but Future Zero seems to have the same logic, which I disagree with. But maybe that's the point. Shiro sometimes is just stupid. Maybe he's supposed to be stupid, because if not, this is stupid. Hopefully Shiro's supposed to be stupid. If someone who is to become a hero is killed before he becomes a hero, that hero will never come to existence. But they exist outside time. There should just need to be one version that becomes that hero, because we already know Shiro doesn't become that hero in every timeline. We've seen bad endings. And yet, in those bad endings, Archer already exists, unless the argument is that in those bad endings, shortly after them, Archer just puffs out of existence, and the timeline rewrites itself. But if that's the case, that, you know, is really fuggly-wuggly with things. There's some possibility to that potential. It could be that if they're operating on a system where, it's inevitable that he becomes Archer in the future until something happens to change the inevitability. Like, if he does die, then suddenly Archer poofs out of existence. They could be working on that kind of timeline theory, but then there's a whole other guaca-bananas. That opens up a guaca-bananas? A can of worms with how time works and stuff. That there's a set course that everything is supposed to play out upon. And only when something happens to change that set course. The question is then, why are those courses the set ones? And then what about when you change the set one? When you shift the set course, do a bunch of future events already play out in advance and then have to readjust themselves until you shift again? Like, and what about memories? Does everyone's memories of Archer, will Rin remember Archer being a thing that exists? If you were to theoretically shift to a timeline where Shiro never becomes Archer in the future, does Rin still remember Archer, or does that completely change? It's a fun thought process, but it definitely comes with a lot of strings attached. If someone who is to become a hero is killed before he becomes a hero, that hero will never come into existence. Therefore, you're going to kill Shiro here. With your own hands? Does that even work? If it does, that's interesting, but... Okay. That suggests that every time that Shiro's been killed, that off-screen afterwards, Archer fades away from existence, and that... But the question then becomes, of course... If he fades away from existence, does the timeline in general, like, is it like a complete world line shift, where everyone's memories are rewritten to adjust to what actually became the true timeline instead? Or do they remember him? Because that just creates all kinds of paradoxical holes, but... Are you going to kill Shiro here with your own hands?
So その機会だけを待ち続けた。果てしなくゼロに近い確率だ。
Yes, I kept waiting for this chance. It was a possibility close to zero. That would suggest, if that does work, that Archer killing the past version of himself somehow erases the heroic spirit from the whole timeline, then that suggests we're working on more of a... I don't want to dabble too much into this, so I won't. I'm just going to say it suggests we're working on more of a linear version of time, I suppose is the way of putting it. Like, Shiro in every timeline has to then become Archer. Or at least in every series of similar timelines. Or again, it's a thing where, you know, like, okay, so in a bad ending, there's a couple different ways of doing it. It could be that it's a linear thing where Shiro's destined in all timelines to become Archer, or it could be that he's not, but in the ones where he doesn't or where he dies, Archer can still come back and only, you know, issues cause the course to correct itself. But also, yeah, Archer might just not understand how time works. I could see how it could work. There's a couple ways it could work, but it's weird. It's very weird, and not the way I would assume time would work if I was suddenly stuck in a time travel scenario. I would never assume that it would work this way, but, it's not impossible, depending on how the universe structured itself, how the writer decided to write the narrative. There are ways it can work, but it's weird. It was a possibility close to zero, I'd agree. The idea that it would actually work this way would be pretty weird, Archer. I kept waiting for this chance. It was a possibility close to zero.
だが、それにかけた。そう思わなければ自身を許容できなかった。ただその時だけを希望にして、俺は守護者などというものを続けてきた。
Maybe that's what it comes down to, is he's just believing in it so hard. But I staked everything on it. I could not contain myself unless I believed in it. He's believing in it, the fact that it'll work. And again, that goes to the idea that he's being stupid. But that means present Shiro, past Shiro, is also being stupid. Because I can understand why future Shiro is desperate for himself, for this to work. But the idea that past Shiro is just as desperate, if that's true, that shows an accepting of what future Shiro is saying in its entirety, that it will just go to shambles. An accepting that, okay, fine, if that's where I'm going, just end me. But, which it seems to an extent he has been accepting from what we've seen. Slowly but surely, it seems like he's accepting that he's just going to get killed by his future self, as if that is the best outcome. Well, I acted as a guardian. This was the only hope that kept me going.
それは無駄です、アーチャー。
That's meaningless, Archer.
あなたはすでに守護者として存在しているのでしょう。ならもう遅い。
Oh.
今になって英雄となる前にエミやシロを消滅させたところで、あなた自身は消えはしない。
So they're not going to be that weird. It's meaningless, Archer. You have already become a guardian, so it is too late. Even if you kill Emiya Shiro, who is yet to become a hero, you yourself will not disappear. Depending on how multiple timelines work, there could even be multiple versions of Shiro as a heroic spirit. You know, there could be the Archer Shiro, and maybe that Archer Shiro is kind of, you know, edgy and cynical. Maybe there's a different version, though, that's like more of a heroic Shiro. There could be different versions of Saber as a heroic spirit. You know, it's a multiverse, so theoretically, if time does work that way, where a guardian is stripped from, you know, the normal rules of time, as it were, and there are multiple timelines, theoretically, and if they can interchange with each other, which I feel like this is a definite confirmation they can, because this Shiro shouldn't grow up to be this Archer, in theory. If they can cross the streams, then theoretically there should be more potentials for guardian spirits of alternate versions of Shiro or Saber or something, just as examples, but it is too late. Even if you kill Emiya Shiro, who has yet to become a hero, you yourself will not disappear. He could just be wrong. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Throne of Heroes would want heroic servants to know how to get out of it. You know, being servants that are supposed to help the people and all. The world would be like, what are you doing? You're supposed to help us, you jerks. We're not going to tell you how to escape. There's no escape. Mwahahaha. Oh, that is what he's doing. Okay, I can get behind that. Alright. That may be true, but there's still a chance, however small. I don't know how this fucking shit works, but if it's possible, I'm gonna try it. Okay, I can respect that. Alright. I want to keep the Taitoru. I do have to pee here. I'm really into this. I've been putting off an intermission, but I have to intermission eventually. I'm also now out of water entirely, both glasses, so... How do timelines work? That may be true, but there's still a chance, however small. Just altering the past might not be enough, but the paradox will be even greater if I am the one to do it. I suppose. I don't think it'll matter, but I respect the desperation. Glucose overdose? No, it's okay. Because L uses his smarts, he doesn't have to worry about that stuff. If the distortion is large enough, a hero called Emiya will disappear here.
それにな、セイバー。俺はこの時だけを待って守護者を続けてきたのだ。
And Saber, this is what I've been waiting
今さら
for.
結果など求めていない。
I'm not looking for results now. Oh, normally it's all about results, right? What you're doing now is purely for the act?
これはただの八つ当たりだ。くだらぬ理想の果てに道化となり果てる。Emiya Shiro という小僧へのな。
I'm just taking my anger out on a kid called Emiya Shiro, the one who will become a clown as a result of his stupid ideal. At least he admits his excuse. He has gotten really good at his excuses, like what Saber said recently. Yeah, you're getting better at excuses. He gets even better in the future. Shiro, the excuse master. Archer ideal is just full of shit. There shouldn't be a paradox in the first place. Yeah, Archer is not this Shiro. Indeed, but he's grasping. He's admitting to grasping. And the knight in red comes down to the hall. Only an Archer and I stand in the hall, filled with rubble. Oh boy. There's nothing separating us. The reason is simple. He wants to kill me, and I just want to beat him up because I don't like him. Oh, I thought you were... I mean, the way you were talking before, maybe you want to beat him up because you don't like him, but you were kind of just accepting death earlier to an extent. You're like, yeah, he's going to beat me, and I'm okay with that. Dash, 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 dash. I walk to the center of the hall. Do you have any plan to win? Or is it like before still and you're just accepting death? Is it even more so that you're just accepting it? I won't be able to back out once I take a few more steps. Before that...
Archer, お前、後悔してるのか?
Archer, do you regret your actions? Ah, yeah, because... I'm just asking him a real question. Because in the past, you've been all like, oh, I'm not really regretting, or I'm putting patchwork over it. I just don't want to have to regret. But, he said earlier that he's full of nothing but regret when talking to Saber, so... If you're full of regret, theoretically you regret your actions. There's one thing I have to ask him.
無論だ。俺。いや、お前は正義の味方になどなるべきではなかった。
Of course. I know. You should not have become a superhero. I agree with that. I don't think that's Shiro's way in life. He spits those words out. And that dispels my last doubts. Or what? Are you saying that... Are you confronting the idea... Are you saying that you do think you can still be a hero? You think because of maybe your development from Timeline 1, you're maybe in a mental place now, or something, where, or because of the development from Timeline 1 plus this timeline, you're in a mental place now where you're actually more believing in the heroic ideas, possibly even because of, you know, some of your talks with Archer thus far, that you've forced yourself to ask where your life, you know, where the hero ideal was going, that maybe you're more firmly cemented in the idea of wanting to actually do it and not regretting. And so him saying he regrets is you going like, no, this isn't me. I will become a different hero. Is that the idea, Shiro?
そうか。それじゃあ、やっぱり俺たちは別人だ。
I guess that is the idea. I see. Then we are two different people. Well, he comes from a version of you, but you are very ripe for permutations with your mental state. So I think saying he's a different person isn't quite true, but at the same time, you know, he's so far removed, and maybe there's no potential of saving him. Maybe there is, but I can concede the argument. Then we are two different people.
何?
What?
俺は後悔なんてしないぞ。どんなことになったって後悔だけはしない。
I will never regret my path. I won't regret it no matter what may happen. That's that's a big matzo ball. Are you choosing to say that just to differentiate yourself, or do you truly believe it? You truly believe you don't regret? I suppose this, again, would come from Timeline 1, though. Actually, yeah, that would make sense, because at the end of Timeline 1, he was forced to confront, because of Kirei, that, no, what happened with the fire is not wrong. I don't want to turn it back. Because what, yeah, exactly, what this Archer right now is trying to do He's grasping at straws, but theoretically he's trying to kill Shiro to erase himself as being a servant from the timeline, which means, you know, altering the past or whatever and changing all that stuff. But Shiro was all about how, no, I don't think this path is wrong. I don't think this path of not undoing things is necessarily a wrong one. He won't regret it. And I think that important development is maybe what differentiates these two theoretically. We don't necessarily where this version of Archer comes from. But, not exactly. But, assuming that this version of Shiro is taking some mental stuff with him as he goes through the Grail, this version of Archer may be from a Shiro that, you know, didn't get any multiple timelines. He just got the one, possibly.
So,
I will never approve of you.
お前が俺の理想だって言うなら、そんな間違った理想は、俺自身の手で叩き出す。
If you say you're my ideal, I'll destroy such an incorrect ideal with my own hands. Still denying it, huh? Is that naive? Or are you actually more in a better mind state to potentially become the proper superhero? That's how I've been living up till now. I've always believed that I am right. But is that right? Is it right to always believe you're right? As he says, I'm sure it's full of false courage and distortion. I've lost more than I've gained. But that's all the more reason why. I cannot withdraw for the sake of the things I've lost. I walk forward. It's a Shiro that hasn't given up versus the future Shiro who's just, you know, fuck all of it. The past Shiro still feels indebted to all those things. Like he has to make it work, even if, you know, he's not meant to make it work. Even if Destiny says, you wouldn't have made it work, kid. All the more reason, because he's told by Destiny. Maybe Destiny being like, hey, for a second, is exactly what he needs to reassess and make it work. Maybe. Oh boy. My circuit has already started sketching the blueprint in my mind.
その考えがそもそもの元凶なのだ。お前もいずれ
That way of thinking is the cause of all of this. There will come a time when you will reach me. Mind state-wise? I don't think that's a guarantee. If the multiverse is real, multiple timelines, you come from one that has different developments of this Shiro, he could very end up being a proper superhero, more properly idealistic version. I don't want to think this Archer is a totally lost cause, but I do think that there is a potential version of Shiro that never becomes this cynical. If he is a lost cause, then they should double down on him as the final boss, I feel. Because having him pass the torch only to sadly go back to his heroic seat and just continue being a sad spirit, not wanting to save people and having to do it for all of eternity, is just sad. So, unless there is some way to save him from the cycle with some Grail mumbo-jumbo, or some way to overwrite him, like if Shiro becomes a new hero that overwrites the version of Archer Shiro that existed, maybe that's a possibility. Otherwise, I think it would just be embracing him as the true big bad that's different. Which, if they're going to do that, they could. But he seems rather tragic for that. It could still work, but he has to really double down and start doing even more grody stuff, like on top of, you know, letting Rin, you know, maybe get potentially raped by Shinji is a start, but he can definitely stink lower if he really wants to. If he really wants to go against the stance of him being a faker. And that's the question of where they're going. Are they going to have him do that? Or is he going to accept this version of Shiro and die somewhat happily? Which, again, though, leads to him forever being in the thing. So I think if they're going to do that, they might do the overwriting idea of Shiro becoming a new hero that somehow erases that version of Archer, which goes against my theory of possibly being multiple versions at the same time, but we'll see where they go with it. There will come a time when you will reach me. There won't be such a time. It'll never come.
Oh. それはつまり、その前にここで俺に殺されるということか。
Does that mean you'll be killed here before that happens? Dash, dash. Are you going to respond? No. It means I'll go down a more proper path. Make my ideal more better. Betterer. Maybe you could at least accept that maybe being a heroic spirit was the wrong path. Or do you still want that, huh? I mean, I guess you don't really want to be a heroic spirit. You just want to be a superhero. Maybe heroic spirit is the wrong way to go about it. I take a step toward my enemy. We're close enough to strike at each other. You didn't respond, I noticed. Does that mean you'll be killed here before that happens? I guess Shiro has a real answer, but he's going to hold off on saying it till they come to blows first. We're close enough to strike at each other. We don't have any weapons. I mean, you don't have any, but at the same time, you're going to have as many as you want. We confront each other empty-handed. But then you're both going to whip out the yin-yang swords and clash simultaneously, is that it? Emiya Shiro is not a swordsman. He's not an archer, he's a magi. Is that the poetic thing you're doing? I mean, you've been fascinated with swords forever, though. We're beings that create swords. I still think there's a way to call that a swordsman. Maybe not in the traditional sense, but if you use swords... I mean, hold on, let me look up the dictionary definition of swordsman. Swordsman. Definition. A man who fights with a sword, typically with his level of skill specified. Oh shit, you're right. He's not a swordsman. At least by the original, not the original, but the base definition I get when I Google it. If you fight with a sword, so if you fight with two swords, you're not a swordsman either. Oh shoot. Lloyd Irving, back up. Is there any other versions of, one skilled in swordplay? Okay, if it's just one skilled in swordplay. I don't even know if Shiro would count for skilled in swordplay, though. He just summons cool swords because they're cool swords. He isn't necessarily good with them. Uses or is skilled in the use of a sword. I don't know. Maybe he's, you know, he's an unorthodox swordsman. Maybe. Maybe he just doesn't count. We are beings that create swords. Then... So it seems you understand. To fight against me is to compete in projection. If projection is based on imagination, then maybe past version of Shiro has a chance. It's true that future version Shiro is, you know, he's weakened, but he should still theoretically be much stronger. But past version of Shiro might have a chance. If its projection is in some ways tied to imagination, if it is, this Shiro should have a more open imagination, as he's not nearly as cynical and jaded, and if anything, has more to fight for. Especially also if it's a combination of that and willpower. Because future Shiro desperately wants to kill his past self, but I feel like there's some faking in there, as Gilgamesh has said. That he's lying to himself, thinking it'll make himself feel better, giving himself excuses like, oh, maybe it'll change things. But this past Shiro, I think, is more resolute in not becoming like this future Shiro. So if will is involved at all, then I think he's got a shot. And imagination too, maybe, but will, I think, has been more presented as being a thing. At least when tied to Avalon healing. Yes, to fight against me is to compete in projection. Oh, there they go. The twin swords appear in his hands. That night. The simple twin swords I admired in the Rito Temple. Rare swords that a legendary craftsman made at the price of his wife. Were they made and by who? When did they get made? In the future? Or are you making them based on something from the past already? Rare swords that a legendary craftsman made at the price of his wife. What? As if the wife, at the price of his wife? Was it like his wife was, like, do you mean like his wife was held hostage and it's like, make those swords, and then they killed the wife anyways? Or it's like, oh, they made the wife, oh, maybe the wife was taken hostage, and it's like, take those swords, and then pay the swords for the wife, and they gave the wife as payment. That's a price of his wife.
Torres.
Oh, they're supposed to say it at the same time to be cool. Activate the complete blueprint and reproduce the twin swords using my image. Oh, lame. You should have them both say Trace Sound at the same time. Missed opportunity. Reproduce the twin swords using my image. Maybe the reason that they don't have them do it at the same time is to show that they're not as similar. To go on Shiro's point that they aren't similar, so they have them do it at different times and don't have them be in sync. That's a fair argument, I suppose. Sword Lord. What a bad job. His are much better. I still want to jack off so much more than his. Wrong throat. Oh, water. Don't fight me, water. Ugh. Hawk 2. What a bad job. The twin swords I once thought were perfect are too unprecise compared to his. Perfect when you can't compare them to real confection. The wife was partially used as the material. Ooh. I mean, sword can't really be legendary with a legend of his own, I suppose. That is that's a legend, I suppose. The price of his wife. He used his wife because he had to, or because he wanted to, or just to try. Why would you do? Why was he in a bad mental place? Was it for science? Why did he do? Anyways. An inferior illusion will become a delusion. So you have to make your illusion superior. You have to believe in your bullshit more than he believes in his bullshit, which is perfect, because you still believe in your ideal where he's rejected it. So you should be able to believe stronger if it's based on that kind of belief, if there's a correlation. Probably. My swords will shatter and disappear when they crash against his. So don't think like that. Think that yours will be better. You gotta think it's real to make it real. Dashes. I take another step. Crunch. The rubble crunches under my foot. That serves as a signal. To start fighting? Will you be able to keep up with my projection? I spurred that word a little bit. I got my mouth's a little bit right now. So, projection. His wife threw herself into the furnace. Oh, of course. Obviously. So she did it for love. She did it because she's like, you should make a great sword. You could use me. It'll be the best sword. What a loving wife. Obviously, that's how that works. Will you be able to keep up with my projection? You will die once your swords lose their precision. The opposing swords sweep through the air. Where's the epic battle music? If they're going to start their fight, I need epic battle music. They're drawn together like magnets and clash into each other. Interlude? I was wondering. Okay. Need a super cool TM sword because the king ordered him? Oh, okay. Sounds right. He has to, like, you need a cool sword, but my husband, you can't make such a cool sword. I need to turn into material so you can make it. Of course. All right, so we're at an interlude. I didn't say it because I forgot about it, but I was going to say in the morning, before I couldn't stream right away in the earlier morning, was that, I was going to say, I wonder if they'll do like a Lancer interlude or they'll be focused the whole time. I was going to say, you know, I don't know if it's going to be like 2 hours or 3 hours, 5 hours, but I want to see if I can get through this whole Shiro Archer thing all in one. Although, maybe if they interlude with if they interweave with interludes with like Lancer and Rin and Gilgamesh or something, I was going to say something like this, then maybe it takes longer and I don't even get through the whole Shiro Archer thing today. Is what I was planning to say, and I didn't say because I had to start streaming late. But I didn't end up mentioning it at all. But yeah, the idea of interludes is an idea that they have taken and chosen. It is entirely possible they could have not done this and just solely focused on Shiro and Archer. But this goes into the fact that they are interleaving. And because they're interleaving, this says to me that, you know, I mean, it makes sense to interleave, I suppose. Otherwise, they would have kept Gilgamesh surprised. They didn't have to introduce him if they're going to do nothing with it. So it makes sense to interleave once they've already introduced it. So what's likely going to happen is that they're both going to be hitting a breaking point. And at some point, I think past Shiro on some level will either get through to Future Shiro or Future Shiro will go even more into darkness. And they'll end up coming to blows with Gilgamesh as well. And they may combo wombo. I could see the two working together to beat Gilgamesh ultimately if they want to go down that route. The other option, I'm guessing, is they'll work together to beat Gilgamesh or something like that, and he'll become good to some extent. The other option is he steeps further into darkness, and if he does that, I assume he outlives even Gilgamesh. But it's unlikely they go down that route, because he's fading, right? So unless he has some alternate plan to make himself live longer, in which case they might be tricking us into thinking he's just going to go out, but ultimately ends up bonding himself to someone to last longer, to be the true final villain. But that's why I'm doubting that one. I'm expecting they're going to eventually come to blows like that. So we'll see if the Shiro Archer is satisfying enough despite being interleaved with interludes. This time, assumedly, a Lancer interlude would be my guess. The search ends rather quickly. It is interesting, though. It'll be interesting to see exactly what's going on all this time. How, you know, exactly how Shinji's been making his way with Rin. Assumedly, I don't know. Is the visual novel going to get that dark? It's possible Rin escaped from Shinji. Like, Gilgamesh would have had to not care, but he could definitely have not cared. Because otherwise, if Shinji did escape, if Shinji escaped, but Shinji shouldn't run away. If Rin did escape from Shinji, like, either Gilgamesh wasn't around, or Shinji would have just sicked Gilgamesh on her. Well, maybe not. He might have tried to subdue her himself. You know, he likes the feisty. He might like the feisty to an extent. I don't know. Depends on how much she escapes, as it were. Anyways, the search ends rather quickly. Looking at the time right now. I could keep going, but my dream of finishing it all today is definitely, I think, dead at this point. And this is a beat. It is an interlude. This would be short, but I did start late. Yeah, you know, I'll take this interlude beat and stop here, actually. I was in my head thinking, maybe when they stop talking and start fighting, I'll stop. But instead, they interluded. I think I'll take that. I'll leave this one. Oh, there's a choice here, too. Oh, gosh, I want to keep that one. I take everything back. I want to keep some of these. So I will overwrite this. Right then. Lancer Secret Self Mission. Rematch with Gilly. Okay, so, yes, yeah, I am going to stop here for now. Alright, I'm excited for the conflict. I was excited for the conflict, and I'll be more excited. I will continue to be excited until I'm not. But, yeah, I'm going to have to, I don't have to continue. I could continue a little bit right now, but I like the beat. I'll stop on the beat. So, see you guys next time. Still no extra phrase. Stop recording.